Hi guys, on most of our enduro rides, we run the Sena 20S Evo radios so that we can chat to each other while we're on the go. There's a ton of benefits to doing this, mostly just makes the ride a lot of fun when your crazy buddy has a voice in your ear. Love it. But a lot of people have asked us here on YouTube and on our Instagram channel, how do you record the audio from the Sena conversation into the GoPros? It's not that difficult, but there are a couple of idiosyncrasies into how the Sena works that you will need to understand. So I'm going to run through how to connect everything together with the cables and such, how to set the settings in the Sena, and what kind of results you can expect from a couple of different options that you'll have. Let's dive in.
Soft as shit.
Yeah.
God, it's like a sand dune.
Nice maneuver, John. Hey, a little passing thing there.
Now, this video is specific to people who are running the Hero 8 and Hero 9. It should work in principle for some of the other cameras that GoPro puts out, but the specific components that we're going to be using apply to the Hero 8 and the Hero 9. We'll get into why that is in just a second. There's a few basic components that you need in order to make this work. Of course, you've got to start with the GoPro. Without that, you've got nothing. You've also got to have one of the Sena radios. We use the Sena 20S Evo and have had really good luck with them. One caveat about those that we'll put in a full review later, the range is not what they claim. You will not get 2-3 miles, whatever it is they say you're supposed to get out of them. You really have line of sight, and if you start going around corners and stuff like that, you're going to drop off. The only issue there, which is why I bring it up in a video about how to record the audio, is that if the Senas do disconnect and you're using the Sena as your recording source for audio, even on your local end, you will go dead. In other words, the GoPro will still be running, you'll still get video, but because all of the audio comes through the Sena, and if the Sena radios disconnect from each other, you will not have any local audio. It's one of the drawbacks of these systems, but you always know when that happens, and there's things you can easily do to remedy it if you need to record when you're out of range. Sena does come with speakers that go inside the helmet. However, I've found that the engine noise, wind noise, and some other things really overpower anything that those speakers can put out. So we ride with earbuds in at least one ear. Now, one caveat here that I have to throw out to you guys is that if you're riding on street, I'm pretty sure that at least in California, riding with earbuds in is not technically street legal. So be aware of that. For off-roading use, do what you want. The Sena outputs on a standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So you'll need something to convert that line out into the GoPro's USB-C port. There's two ways to go about doing that. The first is GoPro's proprietary mic adapter. This runs about 50 bucks on the GoPro website, something similar on Amazon. Only GoPro makes these, and you gotta get one from them. There used to be a way that you could use a standard 3.5 millimeter to USB-C converter, the kind you might use on your smartphone, and plug that into some of the older GoPro ports and you'd be up and running. That does not work on the 8 or the 9. I'm not sure about cameras before that. I don't know exactly when GoPro made the switch. But on the Hero 8 and the Hero 9, you cannot use a generic converter. It will not work. The firmware in the camera is specifically set up to talk to a chip that's on this mic adapter, and only this mic adapter is going to actually enable the external audio setting inside the GoPro. The other way that you can do it is to use the media mod. Now, caveat here, the media mod for the Hero 8 does not fit the Hero 9 and vice versa. The two cameras are quite different in size, and you've got to buy the media mod specific to the Hero 8 and specific to the Hero 9 in order for those to work. Between the media mod and the mic adapter, there's a few pros and cons. So let's talk a little bit about what you can expect from each of them and what your audio quality would look like. There's really three ways to get audio into the GoPro. There's an internal mic, which is what most people use. If you're doing anything serious with that, the audio quality is just not going to be there. It's meant to be waterproof, dustproof, etc. It is not a good quality mic. If you're riding in wind, all you will hear is wind noise. If you're using the camera underwater, it's nice that it's sealed, but everything will sound like it's coming through water even after you pull the camera up out of the water. So the internal mic is usable, but the sound quality is terrible. If you want to do better than that, you'll step up to some kind of an external mic and this mic adapter. Now the mic adapter is kind of cool because not only does it let you get 3.5 millimeter standard audio cable into the GoPro, but it also allows you to power the GoPro at the same time off of an external source. So what a lot of vloggers do is use the mic adapter, hook their audio in, and then hook up some kind of a cell phone battery pack or external power source. Maybe you've got a USB plug on bike, and you can keep the GoPro running all day if you've got a big enough SD card. That's kind of a cool option. When you're using the mic adapter, the quality of the audio depends entirely on the quality of the microphone that you're using. In our case, the mics that we use are the ones that come with the Sena. They're in helmet, and there's a few settings in the Sena that clean up that audio quite a bit. Some caveats on that in a minute. If you're using GoPro's Media Mod, the mic that you'll be running is the shotgun style mic that they put on those Media Mods. Now, with the Hero 8, the Media Mod is very susceptible to wind noise, just like the GoPro's internal camera, because it's exposed. There's no sock or any other kind of rabbit's foot, whatever you call them, on this. So if you're riding, wind's just blasting full on into the mic, it's a fairly large surface, you'll get a ton of wind noise. Other than that, quality of audio using the Media Mod's really good. Now, I don't have the Hero 9 Media Mod to compare to. I'm assuming it's a little bit better. One thing that I've noted is that on the Hero 9, they've definitely put a rabbit's foot, a sock, over that mic, which should help with wind noise. But in general, these Media Mods produce excellent audio. They're somewhat directional, but they've got mic inputs on the back and on the side. So you get great engine noise, you get great noise from what's happening in front of you, and you'll get really good audio from any talking that you might do. One small caveat here, something to think about while you ride. If you're swallowing a lot, if you're blowing boogers, if you're gagging on the dust, whatever might happen out on the trail, all that gross stuff, the Media Mod's gonna pick that stuff up. So if you're doing a section that you really want the audio recorded for, make sure you clean yourself up just a little bit before you hit the section, because everything that you do is going to get recorded really crisp and clean on these. It's easy to edit out if you're doing stuff you didn't care about. You get the point. If you've just gotten a new Hero 9, make sure that you update the firmware to the latest version. In order to use either the mic adapter or the Media Mod properly, there's some issues with the firmware and you need to update it. When the camera first came out, I had one of the first versions. I bought the Hero 9 within a couple of days of it getting released. They actually disabled the mic adapter in the firmware in order to make the new Media Mod work. They've since fixed it. Everything seems to be working fine now, but keep that in mind. Firmware is always going to bite you in the butt with these things. One other thing about the mic adapter, you want to make sure that you plug it into the GoPro before you turn the camera on. I'm not 100% sure if this is true for every version of the firmware, but I've had a few experiences and I've read a few things on blogs, so it's not just me, where if you plug the mic adapter into the camera while it's running, the firmware will not recognize that you've installed an external mic, and it will continue to record from the GoPro's internal mic, and you'll get shitty audio. The best practice is to plug it in, then turn the camera on and do your recording, and if you want to unplug it, turn the camera off first. If you pull the 3.5mm cable out while the camera's running, nothing will happen to the GoPro, but it will not switch over to internal audio. It still thinks it's connected to a mic source, it just thinks that mic source went quiet, and it's not going to record any audio in that case. You can simply reconnect, you can hot connect those while it's running with no problem, but it's the USB-C part of it that you want to make sure you turn the camera on and off before using. One major downside to the mic adapters that GoPro sells is that they're fairly susceptible to damage. The way that they connect to these cameras, you can see I tore this one open here recently. The way that they connect to these cameras is by plugging into the side like this. Imagine the camera on the front of the helmet and this thing mounted somewhere. Now we make our mounts, so we're able to put those onto the bottoms of ours with some zip ties, which works really nicely. Some guys use double-sided tape to stick them to the side of the helmet. But whatever the case, this component here is really easy to bend. And it's got a chip inside it, so if you bend it, you break it, and you've just cost yourself $50. It's kind of a pain in the butt, to be honest. Now, the Media Mod's just a little bit more robust. Because the camera slides inside it, it really doesn't change the shape or positioning of the camera very much, and everything's kind of built in. What I really like about running the Media Mod, which I just discovered recently, is that everything connects on the back. And this means that your plugs and wires are sticking backwards in the direction of your helmet, and not sticking out where they can get bent or broken off if you face plant or roll into a branch or something like that. So I really like what the Media Mod does for the camera. It's important to understand, of course, that with either of these, you've taken away the waterproof capabilities of the GoPro camera. Do not attach one of these and shove the thing underwater. You will ruin all of these parts. The reason for that is that both of them plug in inside the side door of the GoPro. Now, the typical side door, the stock one that comes on the camera, is waterproofed. But in order to run these effectively, you've got to buy these aftermarket side doors that have this little hole in them where you can stick the plugs through. If you do that, you've obviously opened up a massive hole where water can flow in and you'll short out the whole thing. The same holds true for the Media Mod. In the case of the Media Mod, you don't need any extra side door. It's got its own entirely enclosed situation, but the Media Mod itself is not waterproof. It's not supposed to be waterproof. That's not the point of it. I've had them out in the rain with pretty good luck, but I would definitely not submerge it in water. I can't tell you the number of times I've been out on the trail, swear that I hit the record button, do a section, come back home and go to edit the video and find that I just don't have that piece. It's happened a ton of times. Everybody who runs a GoPro can probably tell you one of those stories. If you're riding with other people, always take a quick look at the person, The front screen of both the Hero 8 and the Hero 9 is going to tell you exactly whether it's recording, how much battery's left, etc. Take a quick look at your buddies. Make sure that everybody's recording before you go hit the gnarly stuff. And if you're doing this whole setup, there's a lot of wires and things that can come disconnected in various ways. It isn't a huge problem unless you've gone down or you didn't connect something properly. Here's what I suggest. Anytime you crash or whenever you first start a new ride and you've had stuff taken off of your helmet, just record a few seconds of video, open it up on the GoPro and see if you've got audio, see if you've got proper video. It'll save you a ton of heartache afterwards. Let's take a look at how to use the Senas effectively. Now, I'm not going to go through how to connect them or the kinds of issues that you have with those. It's a pain to get them connected in many cases, but there are instructions that are easily available from Sena's website, and you are able to get them connected if you follow the instructions and play with it long enough. So we're going to assume for this situation that you've got at least 2 radios, both of them are properly connected, you can hear the other guy talking to you, your conversations are going great, everything's working, your mic's working, the radio's working, the GoPro's working, etc. How do you get them to record? On the Sena helmet mount, there are a couple of different plugs that you need to be aware of. On the back of the mount, there's a plug called auxiliary. Don't bother with that unless you know what you're doing. It's not the way to record off of these things. Believe me, I've tried. On the front, there's a headphone jack. Use that. I've actually removed the speakers that come with it and capped off the port where those plug in, and all I run are the headphones. Headset like this. Now, I use ones that have a soft little rubbery end. They're very comfortable in my ear, actually more comfortable than the speakers, which actually pushed against the cartilage in my ear. They're kind of painful. So let's walk through what this setup looks like. You've got the Sena mount, your Sena's on it, your Sena's connected and talking. Put a 3.5mm splitter into the headphone port of the Sena. Now the splitter needs to be a male to go into the Sena device, and 2 female ends. One's going to be for your headset, the other one's going to be for the line that runs into the GoPro. From the end of your splitter, use a short 3.5mm extension to run from the splitter into either the mic adapter or the port on the media mod of the GoPro. Quick note about various 3.5mm audio cables. They're not all the same. You may have noticed that some have 4 of those little rings on the plug, and some only have 3. The ones with 3 are called TRS. The ones with 4 are called TRRS. It's kind of a technical term, not sure what it means, but basically each one of those rings is a different leg of the audio system. So in a default basic one, a TRS 3-prong, you've got left, right, and ground. In a 4-prong, in a TRRS, you've got left, right, ground, and a mic. Now, the GoPro Media Mod takes a TRS 3-prong connector. If you try to add a 4th, then you might run into issues. Here's why. Because of the way that TRRS, the 4-prong one, adds in another ring, the spacing can sometimes be wrong, and you'll get either one channel, left or right audio only, or you'll have one channel plus ground crossed and you'll get static in the system. It can be really annoying. So for the short 3.5mm connector that goes from your Y cable into your GoPro, use TRS, a 3-prong connector with just left, right, and ground audio. Now, once everything's connected, the last step in the process is to actually set up the Sena. There's one little trick that makes all of this possible, and this is the part that had us stumped for forever. By default, the Sena mic picks up your voice and transmits it to your friends. Your friends hear you just fine. You do not hear yourself talking. That you need to fix. If you leave it that way, you will still record audio, but it will only be the audio from the other guy on his bike. It will not be your local audio. To fix that, you need to connect your cell phone through the Sena app to the Sena device and look for a setting called side tone. What side tone does is it turns on the setting where your mic feeds back into your own headphones. Now this is slightly annoying because you hear your own voice broadcast into your ears. Don't worry, you'll get used to it very quickly. But what that does is that now allows your headphones to hear you plus your buddies on the radio. And remember, because we're splitting what the headphones hear into the headphones and the GoPro is going to record whatever you hear in your ear. So in order to get your voice to be recorded locally and also your engine noises, etc., you need to turn on that side tone. There's a few things to keep in mind when you're using the Sena mic to record local audio. Because Sena has some really nice noise canceling features, there's a lot less wind noise on the radio part of the system when you're riding, even at speed. That part's really nice. We love that Sena does that. There's a downside to it, however. That noise canceling can sometimes think that the engine noise of your bike is also something like wind noise, and it can actually suppress it a little bit. We've had some cases where we're out riding on the trail and most of the audio that gets recorded is from the other person's bike. because the local Sena is suppressing the local bike noise as background noise. You can turn off the background noise suppression, the noise canceling feature, in the Sena settings, and I'd suggest that you play around with that a little bit to get the quality of sound that you want. If you're doing some freeway riding and things like that where you do need to cancel noise from wind, the drone of your engine maybe just isn't that interesting, you'd really rather hear yourself, etc., go for it. If you're doing slower riding enduro, like a lot of the stuff that we do, you may want to turn that off so you can still hear the sweet hum of the 2-stroke or the grunt of the 4-stroke, whatever your cup of tea. Additionally, if you're using the Sena's internal mic to record audio, you'll get great conversations and you can hear the bike noise as we just discussed. However, what you will likely not hear are conversations that happen off bike and off radio, meaning people who are not in your Sena group, who are off your bike talking to you or that you're trying to talk to. Those conversations often get lost. The Sena mic sits inside the chin piece of the helmet, so a lot of the sound will deflect off the front of the helmet and will be muffled through the filters. And in addition, the noise canceling features tend to ignore some of that background noise, and like any mic, the further away you get from it, the less sound it's going to pick up, so bear that in mind. There's a fix for that. If you are trying to record stuff that's happening off bike, turn the GoPro off, disconnect the audio cable from the media mod, or pull the plug of the mic adapter, and you'll either revert to the internal mic. If you're just running the mic adapter, you'll revert to the internal mic on the GoPro. If you're using the media mod and you pull the 3.5mm audio cable out, it will revert to the shotgun mic that's on the device, and you'll get great reception for all that stuff that's happening around you. Remember that your camera with media mod in particular is mounted out here, so you've got a mic that's right there in the action, easily hearing things that people say to you from off bike, etc. With all of these parts going on, you'll start to feel a little bit like a cyborg probably, and cable management can be a little bit of an issue. So let me show you how we handle that. Of course, we make our own GoPro mounts, and those mounts have a really great spot to stick the mic adapter, or you can stick it on the side if you want. They've got lots of attachment points. We use zip ties to make sure that they're nice and secure there. They also give you something to zip tie all these cables to. In this case, I've got my headset tied up here on this Liat in a nice little Velcro strap that Liat provides. That's just for when I'm not running the radio, but all my other cables are run underneath the cheek pads of the helmet and are mostly out of the way, except for what actually connects into the GoPro. Last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't do a quick pitch for the GoPro mounts that we're designing. We make one for every different helmet model. We're working our way through the models. We've got about 20 up in the store right now. We're headed towards 50 or so, we think, by the time we cover most of the major helmets. These mounts are really cool. They're custom designed for every helmet, so they very perfectly fit the contours, the shape, the styling of whatever helmet you're running. They keep your vents clear, they're extremely secure, and they have a lot of really cool features that people who do a lot of vlogging are really going to appreciate. For example, one of the things we've done is reverse the screw direction. The typical GoPro screw comes in from the left. However, on the Hero 8 and Hero 9 cameras, there's a battery door on the left-hand side of the camera. So what we did is flip the screw around so that it comes in from the right-hand side, leaving you easy access to that battery door without having to remove the camera. We thought of a bunch of other things. For example, we've got tick marks that let you know exactly where your camera is angled. Check them out. We're on Amazon, we're on Instagram, you can buy directly through Facebook, and of course we have a website. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate you taking the time. This is a little bit of a complicated subject, so if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, shoot us an email, message us in the comments below, hit us up on Instagram. We're happy to talk about this at length. This isn't really a review of any of the components per se, more of a how-to to connect those things all together. We do plan on doing reviews of the Hero 9 and of the Sena as standalone products. We recommend both. They're quite nice. As always, we appreciate a like, a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.